Hi everyone, my name is Oksana
Hello.
Babych. I'm from Ukraine and now studying at FilmEU University in Denmark. And today I'm interviewing a wonderful Anna Markhel. She's a student of Sumy University, and since the start of full-scale invasion, she had to relocate and continue her studies abroad. Very nice to see you, Anna. Please tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation. I'm really pleased to be here. Great opportunity to speak out about the war, about Ukraine, about all important points of our lives. So I study in Sumy State University. I'm mastering my bachelor degree in philology. I really like this field, and I continue studying even if I moved abroad.
So, Anna, I'm sure that life of all the Ukrainians changed drastically since the full-scale invasion in February 2022. Can you tell us a little bit more
Yeah.
about your experience and what did you had to go through and how did you meet this day?
Yeah, I remember that morning very clearly because I woke up early and I remember being surprised that it was already so bright outside and I was still still sleeping because that day I was supposed to have a chemistry test at school, so I nervous the previous days. So at first my thoughts were like, What's going on? Why am I sleeping?" And then my mom called me and told me that the war had started. And I remember the first things that I did. I started checking our school chat, on my chat with friends. So even my teacher texted that we should stay at home, no test, and that we should wait maybe just for a couple of days. And at that moment, I think many of us still wanted to believe that it would not last long. But everything changed very quickly, and the first day passed, and on the second day, my city was already occupied. And it was very painful and frightening experience because there was no electricity, no proper connection, and almost no possibility to buy food because many shops were closed or basically robbed. And it felt like normal life disappeared in just one moment, like everything just vanished completely.
How old were you when it happened?
I think 17.
So you were still in high school.
Yeah, 11th grade.
That must have been yeah, I don't know how to describe that.
Yeah, I remember that even so that year, 2022, I was supposed to have the huge examination to enter the university. So all the thoughts about entering university, about examination, they just disappeared because I just thought about how we can survive, and that's it. So it was the main point, the main idea: just survive and keep living somehow. Just keep living.
Yeah, priorities changed in an instant, and suddenly all those exams lost their importance in seconds.
Yeah.
And how did you decide to relocate? What was the last straw? I mean, I understand that it's incredibly scary to suddenly be occupied, and Sumy is so close to Russian border, right? So you were the first one to take the blow.
Yeah, that's for sure. So when my city was under occupation, we waited. We waited for some time, and after like maybe months, it was deoccupied,
Mhm.
and the normal life just started. Like I can't call it normal, just normal for our realities. And then after a while, like you know about blackouts
Yeah.
when we didn't have electricity, we didn't have like anything normal, and it was very difficult, very challenging to think what you should do. And it was very hard to stay in that situation, not only physically, but also mentally. And at some point, I felt that I had no motivation, no energy, and no desire to do anything. Like it was not just fear; it was also a feeling that life had stopped. Like everything was just on pause. And I think the last straw was the understanding that it was becoming too dangerous and emotionally unbearable.
Yeah.
I understood that I needed to leave because I had to protect myself and somehow continue my life and studies. It was not an easy decision because leaving your home during war is never really a choice you want to make. But at the moment, it felt necessary, and now I'm really glad that that I did it
Did you leave alone or with your family?
alone. My family stayed in Ukraine.
Yeah. Interestingly enough, I have very similar situation. A friend of mine got their house bombed, and she decided to leave the
Mhm.
country and asked me to come along with her since her family decided to stay. And my parents
Mhm.
also did not want to leave, so that was just two of us, 19-year-olds, just going on a train, and we didn't even know our final destination the second we were leaving Ukraine. It was mostly going in nowhere. And how was that about for
Mm.
you? Did you know your destination? Did you have any plan after leaving Ukraine? Did you have any friends abroad? Anything?
No, I didn't have any friends abroad. Like I knew that approximately what should I do. Like just approximately. It wasn't I can't even call it a plan. But I was like how old was I? I was 20, 20 years. So I was like quite grown up to move to be ready to take responsibilities for my own. So it was difficult, but it has to be done.
Yeah, it's a huge leap of faith. And also, I
Yep.
understand that for you, most of the studies happened online because we had COVID
Hmm.
happening before that, and then the war has started. So a lot of schools and universities they also continued to study online. How did that affect you? Did it help, or was it stressful? Is there any experiences you wish you had and you couldn't, unfortunately, because of the circumstances?
Hmm. So for me, online education is a very usual and unusual experience at the same time. Why usual? Because we didn't have a choice. You have the fact that you need to study online, and you're like, yeah, okay, I don't have a choice, so I need to accept it. And unusual because of COVID and then war, many students lost the normal university school experiences. And in my case, when I entered university, I did not really have a chance to meet many of my group mates in real life. And now I understand that I may not even see most of them at graduation. Many of them went abroad before or during the war, and some probably will not return so soon. So it feels really odd because we studied together like for 4 years, but mostly through the screens. I never saw them, and online education is useful because it allows students to continue learning even in difficult circumstances. But emotionally, it's not the same. You cannot say this like the fully interaction between people because I miss real communication, real university life, and the feeling that you are the part of group, that you are the part of students' life. Yeah, and so it's quite difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine. Because such a big part of growing up and being a student is all this hangouts after school, grabbing a beer with your classmates, talking to your teachers in person.
Mm.
And when all of that is missing, that must be very, very hard.
It just feels like you missed the part of life, but you don't have it.
The crucial part of
The
life,
normal student.
the growing
Yeah,
up part,
for sure.
unfortunately, because it's such a big part of you discovering
Yeah.
yourself and becoming or figuring out who you are, what you want to do in your life, what people you want to surround yourself with. And so many students in Europe right now, they have the opportunity to maybe build the connections for life and networking opportunities and all of that. And unfortunately, many kids and students in Ukraine have been denied in this opportunity. And I'm really sorry that you have to go through it. Are you
Mm.
planning on continuing your studies maybe or studying in the country where you're at right now? Where are you, by the way?
I'm in. It was the nearest country to Ukraine. It was one of the reasons why I chose this country, and also because a lot of Ukrainians they are in Poland as well. So like a big community of people are here, and and we can say it's a little bit similar mentally, not like fully similar, but a little bit. So I understood that it would be easier to adapt here than in I don't know where in German. It might be more difficult. So about my studies, you asked me previously. I think yeah, I'm planning to finish my bachelor degree and then to get my master degree. I will have the examination, but I don't know exactly the date. And after that, I will continue my study. But unfortunately, it will be online because the same university, Sumy State,
Yeah.
continuing my previous experience in studying online.
Do you not feel isolated? Did you manage to build a community abroad?
It's a difficult question, because it's difficult to find close people, friends abroad, because maybe only at work, because you spend a lot of time at work, so and you can find your colleagues. Like mostly of my colleagues, for example, now they are from Ukraine or from Korea,
Mm-hmm.
so I communicate with Koreans and Ukrainians, and it's really interesting because at work you can like talk with them, maybe after work go somewhere just to have the cup of coffee, the hang out a little bit. So my work gave me the opportunity to find some people with whom I can chat, with whom I can talk about maybe not my problem, but generally just talk with. I work in Korean company as a assistant of the sales manager.
Wow, that sounds very impressive.
Yeah, and it's also very interesting because you see a lot of people, you need to communicate with them.
I see. That sounds very, very, very interesting. How do you combine it with
Mhm.
your studies?
Yeah, at first it was so difficult to combine it with studies because you come abroad, you need to understand that it's not like in Ukraine because you need to adapt to another country, to another system, and like some simple things like documents, appointments, they are really stressful, and you need to deal with that, and you also need to remember about your studies. So at first it was so difficult because I tried to combine everything, but then I understood that I cannot. Like I need to choose work or studies. And then I told my teachers, my professors about my situation, and then like they allowed me to not be present on each lections, but maybe on some of them, and that I can send done exercises during the weekends when I have time to do it. So thankfully to my teachers, my professors, that they all understand the situation, what we all in. They help me with studies and work.
To when the whole country is put in such unusual circumstances, everyone has to learn to adapt, and it's incredible how responsive Ukrainian education system is.
Mhm.
I think it would be impossible if teachers or universities themselves would try to keep up with the strong rules and systems that have been working before.
Yeah, it's so great that they understand that when you live abroad, you cannot just sit and do nothing because you need money for food, rents, transport, and everyday life. So they understand it, and I'm so glad and thankful for that.
Yeah, on the topic of you coming abroad, can you share a little bit more about what were the biggest challenges for you? Because I imagine it's a complete change of the environment, language, people, rules, and all of that, and suddenly you also lose this feeling of being at home, and you kind of put yourself into the situation where you're constantly asking for permission to stay. Is that something that affected you?
Yeah, the biggest challenge is that everything changes as you had already. Your home, your normal environment, your language, and all the daily routines. Like even simple rules of everyday life become different. And it felt really lonely because my relatives and close people are still at home while I had to build a new life somewhere else. And also it was difficult to adapt to another country and their system because they have like different documentation, have different appointments, and you need to learn how to deal with appointments when you need to adapt to new country and learn new language and meet new people. But most of the people that I've met, even Polish people, they were so understandable about the fact that I don't know Polish. So they spoke to me in English, and I was really grateful about it because it was only one way to find the common ground to build the communication between us. So yeah, most of the people that I met here, they were so good.
I'm happy to hear that. When you're so far away from home, it's so important to have a community that is willing to be understanding and gentle and show support.
Yeah.
Did you have any encounters where maybe people were less understanding, or was there something that stood out to you that was a negative experience?
Fortunately for me, no. Most of the people were understandable, and they asked me a lot about Ukraine, about the situation, like about my emotional and mental stability, and I was so grateful for that, that they can be supportive.
This is wonderful. I'm very happy to hear that you got that experiences. To be fair, on my journey abroad, it was also been mostly very positive and supportive and kind people who surrounded me and showed their willingness to understand
Mhm.
and yeah, be very nice. Show some empathy, I guess.
Yeah.
And while we're on that note, I was wondering, probably we have a lot of listeners right now who are willing to help, and maybe they have a lot of fellow students or colleagues from Ukraine right now. And I understand it might be difficult for them to talk about war or find a way to approach a person who's from Ukraine, even if they would love to help. So, do you have any advice for them on how to begin this conversation?
Yeah, I think that the best way to start the conversation on the simple and sincere note, because you don't need to find perfect words to show your support. You can just ask, "How are you doing?" or "How is your family?" or just, if it's not hard for you, would you like to talk about what is happening in your country? Like just some simple phrases, words, sentences. And many Ukrainians still have relatives and close people in places affected by war. And sometimes they really need to talk about it and share what they are going through. But it is important not to pressure them. And also, the main thing is to show that you are ready to listen and never say something like, just don't think about it, or at least you are safe, because this can hurt really bad. It is better to be kind, patient, and respectful. And also, I had the similar conversation at work. Like my boss asked me, "Oh, what is going on in Ukraine? How are you doing? What about your family?" And he wanted to know my experience to find out better about the situation. So I just told him about everything that I've been going through and about everything that is going on right now. And it felt so good to that people are really interested. It really feels good, especially when you are abroad and you don't have a lot of close people. And it feels like wonderful when you find someone who wants to hear about your experience and about your life.
Absolutely. You mentioned that the words, at least you're safe, can hurt a lot. Can you elaborate on that one?
Yeah, I can, Frail. It's one of the worst topic for me, I could say that, because when I left my country, it was really difficult for me because I left my close people, I left my family, and they stayed in Ukraine. And I felt a lot of stress and guilt because of that. I felt like incredibly guilty that I was in a safe place while my family was still in Ukraine. And it led me to go to therapist, to psychologist, because it was too heavy to carry alone, and I had to understand and accept that leaving was my choice and staying was their choice, even if it sounds harsh. I cannot control everything, and I cannot save everyone by destroying myself emotionally. Now I try to focus on what I can control. And also, I tell to my family all the time, like, if you feel so stressed, if you are so scared, just like, you need to move to me and we will find out the way how we can live together, or just, I don't know, just create something, think about the way we can manage this situation. Just don't, like I tell them all the time, do not stay if you think that it's not safe to be there. Like, just move here even if it's difficult. Never, absolutely never tell people who escaped the war, at least you are safe now, especially when their close people are in Ukraine, because it will be so painful and bad.
Yeah, survivor's guilt hits hard.
And it's even a little bit difficult to talk about it now, because I think about it over and over again.
Really sorry that it's.
Yeah, it's fine that the reality
And on that note, I'm also thinking about the connection to Ukraine. So, because even when you leave, you still keep all those friends and family members, and you keep reading Ukrainian news all the time.
Mhm.
And quite often you have to encounter like news about another missile strike.
Mhm.
Like today, this morning, Ukraine has been attacked again. And then you read stories of Ukrainian POVs who are being tortured in Russian
Mhm.
captivity, constant power outages, like the struggles that civilians have to go through daily. You think about all those kids who are growing up, and some of them are now going to the kindergarten and they never knew life without war. So, worrying about your family and friends while existing in this relatively safe environment and having to deal with mundane things, waking up, going to work, and pretending that everything is fine.
Mhm.
How do you deal with that?
It's also very hard because you can be in a safe country, have ordinary life, going to work, university, taking public transport, and at the same time, your mind is still in Ukraine. And most of the news I get from my mother because it's difficult to me to read everything by myself, because when I read the news constantly it causes a lot of stress, because I completely understand that I cannot directly influence what is happening. There's nothing I can do about it, like literally I cannot influence on anything, and it affects my emotional and mental state very negatively. So sometimes I really try to limit the amount of news I read. I still want to know what is happening, what is going on, but I also understand that if I read everything all the time, I will not be able to function normally. It is very difficult to find this balance because you care deeply, but you also have to protect your mental health.
Yeah, it's impossible to carry that amount of suffering and pain inside you all the time and feel it for 100%. I can imagine how difficult and almost surreal it must feel in terms of this duality of life,
Mhm.
where on one side there's all these horrible
Yeah.
things happening, and on the other side the sun is shining and now it's spring, so everything is blooming, and there's so much beauty in the world alongside with all the suffering.
Yeah, but you know, sometimes at the streets, I meet Ukrainian kids because, like, I hear their speech, so I know that are Ukrainians, and for them, I absolutely happy because at least I cannot say it's a fully normal childhood, but it's partially normal childhood because they escaped war with their parents, obviously, and then they may have this like a small chance to have normal, not traumatized childhood.
You also mentioned at the beginning of our interview that when the full scale invasion just started, you kind of felt like everything was paused, the life
Mhm.
stopped. How long did it lasted for you? Do you still feel like your life is basically frozen, or did you find a way to move on?
Yeah, when I moved abroad, I started, like unfreezing. I felt that life is continuing, and I started feeling normally. Like the pause somehow disappeared. Like the normal environment without strikes, without rockets, helped me to improve my mental state, my mental health.
Yeah. I also remember that in the beginning, it was so hard to believe that it's gonna last longer than
Mhm.
just a few months. Me and my friend, when we moved to Germany first in March of 2022, I remember how we explicitly didn't buy anything for half a year because we kept thinking about us moving back and we didn't want to add up on things or stuff to carry back to Ukraine because it felt so temporary.
I also remember that we were doing some plans for those past days, like, oh, it will end really soon. We should make some plans, but then like in this December, it will be 4 years.
Oh, I think it was already 4 years, so it's the
It was
fifth year
already
now.
4.
Yes.
Oh my god, the time is so quick.
Yeah, time flies. So much has happened.
And still, sometimes I wonder if we compare Russia and Ukraine, like geographically, their country is so much bigger, like absolutely bigger, and still for 4 years, Ukraine is keep standing, trying to fight back.
It's almost
Yeah.
like the story of David and Goliath, a small guy trying to fight this enormous giant.
It feels like the same.
And I must say, it's absolutely impressive to me the amount of hard work and resilience Ukrainian people have and keep showing and continuing fighting every day, and not just fighting. Uh, I think just the ability of being able to wake up and continue doing your mundane things, going to work, going to school, deciding to leave and build their life abroad, or staying and just continue going to a cafe and buying a cup of coffee. This is incredible how much people can withstand. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I feel like there is a lot of talk lately, especially in Europe, calling Ukrainians resilient people, strong ones. And I feel like there's a danger in that one, since it's so easy to call people strong and just assume that since they've withstand so
Hmm.
much already, they can just keep going forever. It kind of erases the amount of tragedy that's happening in Ukraine every single day. I don't know if you experience that, but when I talk to people from abroad and sharing the experiences of what is happening in Ukraine, sometimes it surprises me to see their facial expressions and the reaction on their faces, since they see it as this huge enormous tragedy, and for me it's almost normalized now, like it's a part of
Hmm.
every day. And
Yeah.
talking to people from outside, it kind of reminds you of how awful it is still.
Somehow for those 4 years, the war has become the part of daily lives, so people interact with it all the time. And when you talk to someone about it, like after that, you may realize how much horror our people saw, and they are continuing to see this on the daily basics, unfortunately. Yeah, and being strong was never easy.
Exactly, exactly. People get extremely tired, and people, everyone wants it to end, of course. But it has to end on fair terms.
Yeah, I hope so. Like for 4 years, I've been hoping like when about finishing it, but it feels endless. You hope and pray like all the time. Please, it has to end. It has to end. But then you see there's no results. Only more tragedies. Only bad situations, and yeah, you feel like it's completely not fair.
Absolutely. And it's also so unprovoked and completely unnecessary when you start realizing that it can be stopped from day to day just by decision of one dictator. Putin can stop the war any second, and unfortunately, he just keeps going.
But the way you mentioned Putin, and like I don't know why it just flipped in my mind about some, the social media like TikTok and Instagrams, because some people maybe I don't know from which country they are, but sometimes they do like cool videos about Putin, about Russians, like the picture when he was on the bear or with bear or something like that, and then it makes me ick because they don't realize the horror that all those cool people have been causing to us.
Yeah, I think from the outside perspective, this demonstration of power, I guess that's how they see the Russian invasion of Ukraine, which is funny considering that they thought that they're gonna end it in 3 days, and now it's been going for 4 years. So maybe there's not that much
Mhm.
power in there. It's easy to romanticize it and pretend that it's fun and cool and very alpha male.
Yeah.
I also had, if we're talking about social media, I heard some talks about Americans mentioning that it would be lovely if some type of war would start, so they would just have to stop paying their taxes. And it's so funny to me because in Ukraine, the war there, but you keep paying taxes and you keep showing up to work, and there's nothing that changes in your life except for the fact that it gets 10 times more complicated, And the only difference is now you have missiles flying above your heads and constant explosions and power outages, etc., etc. But the system has to keep running. So sometimes people see it maybe as a way to get a free vacation, but I think there's nothing further away from the word vacation than war.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to ask you about uncertainty and how you deal with that. Because, of course, people who are in Ukraine right now, they have to deal with it daily. Like, is there a missile strike? Is there none? Today, are we lucky? Are we continue living? But living abroad also brings an enormous amount of uncertainty and all the stuff that you need to resolve, and maybe decisions that are not that doesn't depend on you, but that affect your life tremendously. Can you share a little bit?
Uncertainty is like a part of my life because it's difficult to make big plans for the future now, especially now. Also, the war taught me that life can change completely in one day, and even very serious plans can disappear so rapidly. So now my plans, my wishes, they are so simple and realistic, like to finish studies, continue maybe developing professionally, improve my language skills, and maybe in the future build a stable life, step by step. So it's difficult to talk about plans because I don't have any like big plans because it feels like if you make these plans, they can disappear. So it's difficult to make many plans because there's still a lot of uncertainty. I still have some goals and hopes, and for now, I think it's enough for me.
For our listeners who maybe don't know what type of uncertainty Ukrainians have to deal with, right now it's a bit unclear what's going to happen with Ukrainian refugees in countries of Europe. Will their status or visa opportunities will be extended, or is there this thing that's called soft return or something like that, where they will be offered a small amount of money to voluntarily go back to Ukraine. And just in general, it's very unclear of what's going to happen with documents and living permits, etc., etc. And no decisions has been made so far in most of the countries. Now all the jokes at the job interviews about where you see yourself in 5 years, this question really sounds like a joke. I can't take it seriously anymore.
It might be difficult to make plans, especially for those refugees, not for people whose houses were destroyed, because they can return to Ukraine, but they don't have anything there, like just the homeland, no homes, no cars, just nothing. So it might be very challenging for them.
And I can also assume that with every year spent abroad since the war continues going, it becomes harder and harder to go back.
Yeah, because people are getting used to this life. They have work, they have like normal routine here, and then like they changed their life completely once, and it feels that they need to change it completely twice, like to do it again if they want to return to Ukraine.
Yeah, you've been completely uprooted, and I think right now people just started to feel a tiny bit of normality or some kind of stability where they found their jobs, places to live, they build out some friendships and networks, and having to do that again sounds extremely challenging.
And unrealistic maybe because even if you're on this because yes, sometimes people ask me when like are you planning to go back, and I say I don't know. You're like I have no idea at all because you need to be prepared mentally for changing your life over again, to moving back, to have the life you used to have, the new job, new people, new documentations for renting flat or transportation and all this stuff. It's not easy at all.
I don't know if you noticed, but at least my grandma always wanted to feed me as much as possible. That was her love language. And I kept being shocked or frustrated by it sometimes. But now I realize that it could be a trauma response to Holodomor, the severe hunger that killed millions of people in Ukraine, 1930s. back in history. And I was wondering if you're noticing any potential trauma response that you're gonna have and you're gonna do with your kids when you get older.
I don't
Because,
know about me, but your words reminded me of my great grandmother.
mm,
She faced the Second World War when she was a kid. Now she's like 93 years old. And when I was in Ukraine, sometimes I came to her and like, tell me about the Second World War. I want to know. I want to know more about it. Your experience. Yeah, it was before 2022. So she always explained me about it. She always talked with me about it, and I noticed that sometimes, not sometimes, all the time, when she had food, she always makes supplies. Like she hides it somewhere, and she doesn't touch it, and she keeps it for a long time, just in case. And yeah, I realized it like later that it might be caused by trauma. I don't know about me because I'm not doing something like that at all.
I
I
see.
just I think I just trying to live my days each day like it's the last day of mine. Maybe this is like a the small trauma because it feels like might be the last day, so you need to live it fully, normally, try for try to make as much as you can, but also prepare for the next day. But still, you're focused on living this day.
Because I personally noticed that prior I dreamt about having panorama windows in my future house, and now I'm considering
Hmm.
the rule of two walls, where you need two walls in between you and explosion, so all the debris don't kill you.
Hmm.
And I just, as soon as I came to Europe, I started noticing how impractical and dangerous all the buildings are, and that there are no places to hide. There are no
Hmm.
underground places to stay away from the explosions. So that is something I am thinking about constantly. Is there any habits that you notice maybe?
No, only one. When, for example, accidentally something falls on the ground and there's like a loud and unexpected sound, like so I always like flinching. I'm always reacting on this sound, like oh, what is going on? What is happening? So all the loud sounds, they are getting on my nerves. Like it scares me all the time. Each time I hear something loud and unexpected, I'm scared.
And fireworks are just a nightmare nowadays.
Yeah, fireworks. And the planes, sometimes planes they fly so low that you can the hear this sound, this like and it also scaring me.
Also, to our listeners, maybe people who don't know, right now the aerial space is closed in Ukraine, so there are no planes flying at all, no helicopters, nothing.
Only military planes.
Yeah, only military planes or Russian drones and
Mhm.
missiles that are being shot on the territory of Ukraine. So it also complicates the travels. How long does it take for you to get home?
I think by bus it would take, I don't know, almost 2 days.
So around 36 hours potentially. The only options right now are the train and the bus, something that
Yeah,
goes.
on the train and the bus, or maybe a car if people have it.
Yeah. Also, you have to stay on the border for a long, long time to get
Yeah,
your
and
documents checked.
the check is always so long.
Because there are always huge lines on the border. A lot of Ukrainians are coming home to visit or maybe help their relatives. Someone are coming back, someone are leaving. So it's always a hustle to travel home.
It's a big challenge
It
to
is.
visit your relatives.
It is. Have you traveled home since you left?
Not yet, because the problem is with the documentation. If you want to stay like in Poland for a long time, you need to make a special card. And to make the special card, you need to stay on the territory 365 days. So you need to stay for 1 year to make this card. If you don't stay 1 year, you will not like get this card and like full permission to stay here for a long time to travel and like keeping your normal life. So yeah, I need to stay here for 1 year to get this card and to move normally between maybe countries.
You can't even travel right now to other
Yeah,
countries.
I cannot.
Don't you feel trapped sometimes?
A little bit, but I understand I need to wait and stay. It's like one of the best options for me now because I don't have much choice.
Fair enough. And that's a tiny piece of stability that you can carve out for yourself.
Yeah, what about you? What about your permission to stay in Germany and travel around other countries?
So while I was in Germany for the first 2 years, I could travel for 21 day out of the year. So it was like a vacation time. And I managed to go back home twice, I believe. And since then, I moved to study in Denmark. And here,
Mm-hmm.
the rules are quite simple. So I am allowed to travel, but right now it's more of a financial question for me to organize the trip home.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
haven't been there for a while, over a year now.
Difficult.
It is, but even if you go home, like it's such a hustle, it's such a journey. From Denmark, I think it would take you 3 days to travel, so more than 48 hours. Well,
And it's also challenge when you are at home because you may face like you will definitely face with all the strikes, bombs, drones flying. And oh, by the way, recently um, I had showed my boss the photo of Shahed because like they know the drones are flying, but they didn't know the size of the drones. Yeah, they thought it was just an ordinary drone that they can see like outside, but they were so surprised and shocked when I showed the photo of Shahed.
yeah, because that's like a human height of a
Even higher,
Shahed. It's like two
even
meters tall and 2 to 3 meters wide. It's a huge
yeah.
machine, and it's filled with explosive materials. So
Hmm.
it's not just a little drone that makes videos for you. It's a huge killing machine. Like imagine a bus falls on you and explodes.
Yeah,
That's kind of a.
machine.
Sometimes people don't get all the severity of the situation, and I can't blame them because it's
Hmm.
hard to keep yourself updated all the time. And then again, you feel like you can't change anything, and it just stresses you out, etc., etc. But I think it's important to just, in solidarity, keep yourself
Hmm.
updated every now and then. Of course, take care of your mental health, but just keep an eye on the situation. And I think another thing that any Ukrainian would be devastated to hear is,
Hmm.
oh, is the war still going?
Yeah.
Is it still continuing? Like, oh, is it like a little annoyance that happens somewhere on the side? The thing is, we right now, because we're being abroad, and people of Europe and other countries, they can turn off their notifications or stop watching the news, and for them, the
Hmm.
war kind of disappears. But
Yeah.
there are millions of Ukrainians right now who can't escape this reality, unfortunately, and they
That's what.
keep going through it every day. And it's our responsibility to just remember them and doing everything in our power to keep them, remember them, and keep supporting
Mhm.
them. Yeah.
It's that you cannot forget and forgive everything that has been going on.
So I know you said that you don't know many plans on the future, but let's
Hmm.
say, ideally, is there any dreams that you have about your future profession, maybe, or the degree that you want to have? Maybe countries you want to visit or travel in the future?
Yeah, I want to travel so badly. I want to visit a lot of countries, and I hope, as soon as I get this card, I will fly somewhere for for a few days. Like I so want it because it's summer now, and I'd like to have a small vacation, maybe near the sea, but I cannot go anywhere. So my future plan is to go to the sea
I
when I
see.
have this card.
That sounds incredible. Do you have a potential dream country of destination?
Yeah, I want to visit Asian countries so bad. Maybe China or Korea or Japan, or maybe learn even Korean language because most of my colleagues are Koreans, so I know some basic words from them. Or maybe one day I will learn this language. But it's very interesting.
I wish all your dreams come true and you get to
Thank you.
travel. And thank you so much for this wonderful interview. I
Yeah,
think
thank
it's
you so much for the conversation. It was really interesting and it's really essential to talk about our problems. And sometimes I think that we are like a shield for the Europe
yeah,
because like anything can happen in every moment, and now we are like a shield for
yeah.
other countries.
I wouldn't wish on any other country to experience what we're
Yeah,
going
that's
through right
true.
now. And I wanted to thank our listeners who went through the whole podcast. I'm very thankful to you guys for showing interest and being empathetic and keeping your mind open and willing to hear what we have to say. And thank FilmEU for organizing this wonderful podcast.
Hi, you've been listening to the FilmEU podcast, a space for and by European film students. Thanks for tuning in. We hope today's episode sparked ideas, raised questions, or simply made you feel part of a wider creative community. If you want more, follow the FilmEU podcast on your favorite platform and join us next time as we continue exploring the journey of young filmmakers across Europe.